Well, good morning and welcome to Peterson, Minnesota. We're going to be riding on one of the iconic bike trails of Minnesota, one of our favorite, the Root River Trail. And this section we're going to go from Peterson down to Houston. And it's a nice 34-mile round trip. It's, I think, the most spectacular part of the trail. It typically is less crowded. We probably won't run into too many people today. It's a gorgeous early October day here. It's going to make it to 70 degrees. It's sunny, as you can see. So really looking forward to the ride, and hope you enjoy the video. Here we are in the town of Peterson. We're heading through the little town here. We leave from the RV campground in the city park. Nice place to camp. There's the gnome for the city. Coming up here on the main street of Peterson, Minnesota. Small little town. It's got one ice cream shop and a bar and I think a restaurant or two. It's a nice little place. Actually, there's no place to stay anymore. This is the Peterson barn that always looks nice on the way out of town towards Rushford. This section of the trail was the last section of the trail that was repaired and redone to be wider and nicer. So it's a nice ride through here. It goes along the Root River, parallels it. Pretty wooded though. You don't see the river for most of the ride through here, just little peeks at it. This is one of our favorite sections of the trail though, because it is less crowded, especially on a weekend. It's a great place to ride. Coming into the opening clearing here just before Rushford, kind of opens up and you can see things with all the fields. There's plenty of camping through the Root River Valley. We like the Eagle Cliff Campground, but just outside of Rushford here, there's another campground that's popped up over the last 10 years. And then on the other side of town, there's some too. Coming into the town of Rushford, I always like to think of this as a little machinery row. And if you're a Minnesotan, that means something to you because of our state fair having a area that's called Machinery Row where they put all the farm equipment. Coming into the old depot here area here, and we're going to take a little break, have some water. This is also a nice place to park and ride towards Houston. If you want a shorter ride, it would be about 25 miles round trip. Coming out of town, you see a new levee system on the river. I don't remember which river this is that comes through Rushford, but probably about 15 years ago, this river flooded out the town. Basically, had everybody's houses about 4 feet deep in mud and water. So they built up this levee system to hold it back. Once out of town, you get very isolated, get away from the road for the most part, until you hit Houston. Beautiful bluff country, like to call it God's country here in Minnesota. We have just always enjoyed coming down to this area for about 30 years now. Fall colors were just getting started here in the early part of October. Very nice treat. We're not used to being able to bicycle in warm weather like this in October here in Minnesota, so it was a treat this year. Julie coming up through the colors. Crossing over the Root River on the bicycle bridge here. It's the only crossing of the Root River you do on this bike ride. After this, the Trail kind of goes away, I think, from a railroad bed and just sort of tries to get around private land. I don't think they had permission to be able to follow the old railroad bed for a lot of it, so they had to divert. Again, back by the Root River here. This next section is the hill they warn you about on the DNR site, the steep hill. I wouldn't go as far as saying steep, but it's a climb. It gets your heart pumping a little bit going up it. It's a nice ride down once you get to the top. Going up here to Cushion's Peak area. At one time, those trees were so low you could actually see the view back into the valley. Well, once you get up, you get to enjoy a nice downhill past Cushion Peak campground there. Heading into the area of Houston itself. Once you get down here, you got about 2-3 miles and then you're in Houston. It's a very popular bike trail, even in the middle of the week like we are. We'll see quite a few people out riding. Still coasting from the downhill here. Just enjoying a beautifully clear day. As you can see, the fields are being harvested. This section of the trail just kind of weaves it through the trees. It's a nice section, although it does get fairly muddy when it rains. And we're back along the Root River here until we get to Houston. Just coming into the town of Houston itself with all the cornfields and soybean fields. It's a nice park as you enter town here that you bicycle to. It's the trailhead. Going up here to the Nature Center and the parking lot for the trailhead. It's a good place to stop. They got some nice restrooms and stuff. There's a campground here if you want to tent camp with showers inside the building there that you can use. We just had some water and a granola bar or two and got ready to head back. Way back we saw this unusual cloud formation. Wondered what it was. Well, it turned out that meant we're going to have a little bit of a headwind coming back, but luckily the trail is so sheltered along the river that we didn't really feel it all that much. You can see the soybeans there, and they're out there in the field harvesting away. Seeing a bald eagle circle around on the Root River there. Lots of them there. The Root River has some good fishing. I haven't fished this part of it. I fished upstream by Eagle Cliff and down through Peterson. Good fishing for some big smallmouth bass and the occasional big trout. It's a good fishing river. Also, the eagles enjoy it. Again, Cushion Peak campground there. It looks nice. We have never tried it. Back up the steep hill and to the top here at Cushion's Peak behind me. And then we head down the hill back to join the river. As I said on the way out that these trees were much lower 10 years ago, and you could see out into the valley for a nice panoramic view. Looking back towards the pass there. On the way back, the sun was in just a nice position to really appreciate the colors that were starting to come out. A lot of yellows and browns down in this part of the Minnesota. You see Julie brushing away something from her shirt. Probably a ladybug. A lot of ladybugs out at this time of year with the warm weather, and they would just kind of fly and attach themselves to you. Getting close back to Rushford here. Coming into the outskirts of Rushford itself. You can see the big floodplain there that they've created in case of any flooding. Main street of Rushford there. Again, some restaurants and bars and so forth. There's also a IGA grocery store there that we usually get stuff at. I've always liked this little farm at the edge of the clearing as you go to the west of Rushford, and then back into the woods here for the last section into Peterson. Entering into Peterson, past the barn again. As you can see, it was just an amazingly lovely day. Heading back through town to the city park where the RV campground is and a parking lot. Bathrooms and some water. Well, we're back here in Peterson. Turned out to be about 35.5 miles round trip to Houston from here. Nice fall bike ride, I'm sure you would agree. Nice thing about doing it in the fall, you get to see a lot more of the river and surrounding area because a lot of the leaves are already off. Anytime you do it though, this is a beautiful ride. Come down and do it. We're gonna head off from here back to the campground. As you can see, we went back to camp and enjoyed some wine and dinner and a fire. It's a wonderful ride, like it said, 35 miles round trip. We really always enjoy this ride and do it quite often. I would encourage you to do it. As always, thank you for watching our video. Like it if you liked it. Please comment and subscribe so you can stay current with our adventures. We'd love to have you come along with us.